Alright, Shannon Vlogs 31 Days of Horror with day 16 and the Killer Shrews. Hey everyone, it is Shannon. I'm going back to my 50 horror classics. Where is it? Oh, my 50 horror classics from Mill Creek Entertainment with the Killer Shrews. Shrews! Oh my gosh, this one is from 1959. It is a bit of a cult classic, I think, mostly from the perspective of the so bad it's good, so bad it's bad, so bad it's we'll let you decide. I actually really quite enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty funny. And actually the story was pretty good. The actors were pretty good, so that always makes a difference. I chose it because I love watching these classic. I did jump ahead. I was doing them or like numerically in the disc, but I'm like, no, I went through the back and I pulled out a few for in contention for watching, and the Killer Shrews is there. I kept on thinking when I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch the Weevil movie, the Weevils, the Weasels, the one, and I can never remember what the shrew part. Anyway, so this is another black and white movie that's got like a pretty thin plot and, you know, some non-great effects. I thought the effects were actually kind of awesome. I have a soft spot in my heart for these ones, folks. I really, really do. So anyway, what this movie is about is there's a very small ship captain and his buddy Rook, who works I guess he's the first mate type of thing. The ship is tiny. It's like a little motorboat. Anyway, it comes to this island with some supplies, and the island people or the people that are on the island, this one woman wants to leave, but hey, weather can't do that. And uh-oh, what's going on? Something's going on here. What's going on here? You know, and of course, it all goes to hell! Like, because it's a horror movie. Kind of. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's basically the plot. Go to an island, scientists doing experiments. Oh no, it's all gonna go wrong. Oh my god. So yeah. So was this a horror movie? I didn't. I don't think so. Like, technically, it's a science fiction movie because, you know, it's like animals gone wrong. You know, so that's science fiction. I don't. I guess at the time it might have been considered a horror movie. In terms of being scary, no, it's not really scary. There were a couple of things that were menacing and ideas, and a couple of things that were like, whoa. Just surprising, but not scary per se. Yeah. But did I enjoy it? Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. There were a couple of things about it that were really it does have some so bad it's good moments to it. There's a guy, the not the lead scientist, but the other scientist guy that's so focused on the work he just ignores everyone else kind of thing, and he was quite funny. And then the main guy, the ship's captain, was quite good, although he was rather distant from not really, you know, he's just there to like do a job and like drop off some supplies or whatever, and like gets roped into this whole, you know, hey, there's killer shrews out there. Sorry we didn't mention it or put it on the manifest. Like, so his character is pretty interesting. I can't remember, he's been in tons of stuff. I think he was on Dukes of Hazzard. So he's, you know, like a pretty big name actor and had tons of credits. He was the only person that I recognized a little bit. And yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot. The shrews are hilarious. There you can like this is one of those ones where I sometimes I'm like, I don't even know what they're showing us. Like, it's something, but I don't know what it is. Like, those are creatures of some kind, like live creatures, but I can't quite tell. Like, and I don't know if it's because the film's degraded like over time or what it looked like at the time. I'm not sure what it was. And then there were other things that were all like, rah, 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 and like very, like, you only saw a little bit of it. But I thought it was awesome. I thought it was awesome. And then there were totally weird things, like the perspective of like the place that they were in, the little house. It was like kind of weird. Like some of the hallways seemed like really like off kilter. And it's like, you know, so there's this possibility of killer shrews, right? And they're just like sitting there making martinis and talking to each other, and I'm like, shouldn't you be doing something maybe about the shrews? I don't know. And there was actually a couple of really jerky character, one really jerk character in it. It was actually interesting from a character perspective. These weren't stock characters, right? The one guy, you know, you felt like, oh, this guy's going to be the hero. You know, maybe he will, maybe he won't. You know, everyone's motivations was rather different than I was expecting. And so that was kind of cool. I appreciated that because it wasn't just paint by numbers, you know, this, that, the other thing. It was actually the characters were a little bit different, and that does make a difference in movies like this if the acting, you know, and the characters are a little more dynamic or not what you expect. Like there's always there's the fun factor of knowing what's going to happen, but I also really appreciate it when they shook up a little bit. Now I did do a drawing for this one, and actually it's one of my favorites. So here we have the shrews and the guy in this very oddly perspective hallway. There's some lightning, and that's a tree. There's another shrew. Oh my god, they're so funny! Oh, it was awesome. But overall, I would give this. What did I decide to give this? I gave it a 7 out of 10. So for a B movie, that's a good B movie, not a great B movie, but a good B movie. It was more enjoyable than I expected. I'm still not quite sure. I guess it's because the shrews look so silly, and sometimes they really do look silly. That makes it such a bad movie, but I don't know. I thought it was rather enjoyable, so I gave it a 7 out of 10. I do have a couple things for the spoiler zone, so if you haven't seen the Killer Shrews and you don't want to be spoiled, we'll say goodbye now. And otherwise, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so like the guy who's like the scientist who's kind of like Anne's boyfriend, when she says that he just sort of like threw her down at the shrews and took off himself, I was like, seriously, dude? And then he does the sort of same kind of thing to the captain of the ship. He was like, I gotta survive this. Here, they can eat you and I'll run away while that happens. I was like, seriously? Talk about a brutal character. And I did think it was really interesting that the captain character didn't just step in to be the hero. You know, he did sort of eventually, but he's kind of like, that's not what I'm here for, which was kind of like, oh, you know, hey, that kind of hurts, but also kind of like, yeah, it's not what he's here for. Like, why do you assume that this guy is gonna do that? Like, you guys were all on this island and did these experiments and made these killer shrews happen. Maybe you should clean up your own mess. Like, I don't know. One thing I did, on a more serious note, I did find it distressing that Rook, who is the first mate kind of cat guy, ends up going out and he gets attacked by the shrews. And it's sort of like he's gone for like a really long time, and I think the captain thinks he's gone back to the ship and that nothing could be wrong, but I'm kind of like, he's out there dying and nobody notices, nobody cares, no, like eventually they figure it out, but I was really like, what about Rook? What about Rook? Is anyone worried about Rook? Like, you know, if he left and then you found out there's killer shrews on the island, I don't know, maybe you go check on him? I think that's what I would do in this situation. I feel like it's a normal scenario. All of a sudden, it's a dangerous scenario. One of your party is not there. Get in touch. He doesn't even know. Anyway, he ended up dying, so, you know, but yeah. And then the idea, I thought, was actually kind of hilarious, like interesting but hilarious. Like, hey, you know, we're doing this experiment, just, you know, kind of interesting. Let's just like see if we can do something to shrink people so resources will last longer. And then I'm not sure how that ended up being that the shrews got bigger. I missed that step. I don't know if they said, if I missed it, or if they didn't say. Overall, Killer Shrews, a lot of fun. Definitely recommend it if you're a fan of B movies. It is actually, I would say it's an essential if you're a fan of these sort of strange, older, like cult classic, bad, fun movies. Killer Shrews, definitely. And the shrews, they just look like dogs with like, I don't even know. I feel kind of like, oh my god, I hope the dogs are okay, because I'm pretty sure, I looked it up, and part of them were dogs that they must have had something to make their heads sort of fluffier, and then some of them were puppets apparently, and that's where the like in between the faces, those are all puppets. But it's like the dogs, and they were like behind trees, and somehow it was like fuzzy, and you couldn't really see anything. And it was awesome. Totally awesome. Really enjoyed it. Really thankful and happy that I watched Killer Shrews. Alright, that's it for today. See you tomorrow!